Long ago, in the waning years of the Eastern Empire, when kingdoms rose and fell by the sound of war drums, one general defied the rhythm of destruction. His name was Wei Shen, commander of the emperor's eastern armies, a man forged by battles, yet untouched by their noise. He studied under the last disciples of Sun Tzu, men who taught that the greatest war was not fought with spears, but with patience. One morning, a crimson messenger rode through the palace gates with urgent news. The Northern Alliance had crossed the border. Villages burned, temples fell. The emperor summoned Wei Shen to the throne hall. "General Wei," said the emperor, his voice trembling between fear and fury, "you will march north by dawn. Crush them before they reach our walls." The general bowed. "As you command, Majesty." But then he paused, his gaze drifting toward the horizon. "Your Majesty," he added quietly, "a sword raised in fear cuts both ways. Allow me to listen before I strike." The court erupted in whispers. "Listen to what?" Wei Shen smiled faintly. "To the silence between storms. It always tells the truth." The emperor said nothing. He simply waved his hand, and the general departed. Wei Shen's army marched for days through mist and pine until they reached the Valley of Echoes, a place so vast and hollow that even a whisper could be heard twice. It was there he made his stand, or rather, his stillness. The soldiers waited for orders to build fortifications, to ready their arrows. But Wei Shen simply said, "Unpack your tents, train in silence. Let no word rise above the wind." Confused but loyal, they obeyed. Days passed with no drums, no calls, no cries. Only the soft rustle of armor and the slow breath of discipline. At night, Wei Shen walked through the camp, speaking not of killing, but of calm. "Before you conquer another man," he whispered, "you must conquer your pulse. The loudest enemy is the one inside your chest." Across the valley, the northern warlord scouts heard nothing, no signals, no preparations, and mistook the stillness for fear. They lit fires and played their war horns louder, believing noise would break the silence. Wei Shen only closed his eyes. Let them fight the shadows they've awakened. At sunrise, the enemy charged. The ground trembled. The sky darkened beneath their arrows, yet when they reached the eastern camp, it was empty. No soldiers, no banners, no command tents, only rows of armor standing upright, arranged neatly in the fog. Helmets rested on spears, shields gleamed in the early light. From afar, it looked like an army ready for battle. Up close, it was a graveyard of ghosts. Confused and furious, the invaders attacked the empty shells, hearing their own roars echo back 100-fold. Their horses panicked. Torches dropped. The valley swallowed them whole. By noon, the enemy ranks had broken themselves against the echo of their own chaos. When the fog lifted, they fled north in terror, certain that spirits had fought them. From a ridge above, Wei Shen watched silently with his officers. No victory cry, no cheer. Only quiet breath and falling ash. "Noise feeds fear," he murmured. "But silence feeds truth." Weeks later, word reached the capital. The Northern Army had vanished. The borders were safe. No soldier lost, but no songs were sung. There had been no visible battle, no trophies, no bodies. When Wei Shen returned to the palace, the emperor's eyes burned with suspicion. "They say you hid," the emperor hissed, "that you ran from glory, that you let them go." "Majesty," Wei Shen said softly, "we won without striking. Your people live. Your army stands whole. The land is quiet." "Quiet?" The emperor spat. "Quiet wins no legends. You have shamed the throne." The court laughed, nervous and cruel. Wei Shen bowed low, his voice barely a whisper. "History remembers noise, Majesty. Wisdom remembers peace." For that sentence, he was stripped of command. His banners torn, his name erased from the imperial records as he walked through the palace gates for the last time. The soldiers bowed in silence, for they knew they followed a man who had never lost a battle, only his place in history. Time drifted like mist over the mountains. Empires cracked and changed names, but high in the bamboo-covered hills, an old man tilled the soil beside a quiet monastery. He was known only as Master Wei. His students were not soldiers, but farmers and wanderers seeking peace in an age of noise. Under the same sky where armies once clashed, he taught them to listen. To the river, to the wind, to the sound of their own breath. The battlefield is not out there, he told them. It is here. He tapped his chest. It begins when you lose control of yourself and ends when you find it again. Sometimes, when the valley below filled with rain, thunder would roll in the distance. The villagers feared it. Wei Shen only smiled. The world still shouts, he said, but I no longer answer. Centuries turned to dust. The world of swords became a world of screens, yet the battles never truly ended. Now the battlefield is everywhere, in traffic, in meetings, in the endless scroll of arguments online. The noise has changed its form, but not its hunger. We fight for attention instead of land, for pride instead of peace. We raise our voices, sharpen our words, and forget that silence, too, is a weapon. Silence is not surrender. It is mastery. It is the art of standing firm while the storm passes through you. The modern warrior does not wear armor. He wears exhaustion. He does not wield a sword. He wields reaction. And yet the wisdom remains, the same that echoed in the Valley of Echoes so long ago. To pause before you speak. To breathe before you break. To see beyond the noise and act only when the moment demands. Somewhere, across the hum of cities and machines, if you listen closely, you might still hear Wei Shen's whisper carried by the wind. He who conquers the silent battlefield conquers himself. And no one can defeat the man who no longer needs to fight.